Thank you, Mr. Richardson. I remind the board this is our public hearing on the budget, so we're now going to hear from members of the public that have signed up to speak. And before we do that, I'd like to remind you that the board welcomes and encourages public participation. We respectfully ask that you adhere to the procedures and decorum provided in board policy BEDH, public participation at meetings. Your comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Questions that you ask during public participation and place in writing will receive a response in a timely manner. So I'd encourage anybody that had a follow-up question to do that. So with that in mind, I will go to our first person that has signed up, and it's Ms. Debbie Wellslager. Debbie Wellslager.
Good evening to the board superintendent, and distinguished guests. I have the same concern that Mr. Lozon already mentioned. The end of this year, I got to listen to several of my students who were extremely distressed that the programs that they thought they would be able to participate in and had planned on participating in, they would not be. And they were spending their time, instead of investing it in getting ready for their tests that were upcoming for AP courses, trying to figure out whether or not they would be able to travel to another school in order to get the classes they need. I don't like talking in front of adults. I only talk to students. It just concerns me because I don't like seeing my students distracted. At that time of year was something that, I know budget matters, but to me the students are what matters the most. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wellslager. The next person that signed up is Ms. Barbara Baldwin. Dr. Baldwin.
Good evening, Mr. Gant, members of the board, and Dr. Hefner. I'm here as a community member tonight to ask you during your deliberations to consider the students. And I'm asking you to do what is best for the students in District 5. If that means that we have to go ahead with a 15.7 mil increase in the millage, then I think we really have to do it. You've heard from Mrs. Wellslager and Mr. Lozon about students at Irmo High School not being able to take the AP courses that they need or would like to take. We need to give our students every opportunity to exceed, not just succeed, but exceed and excel in their schooling here in District 5. We have a reputation of being one of the best districts in the state, and we need to do everything we can to continue that tradition. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wallman. The next person to sign up is Albert Boyno. That made you Dr. Albert Boyno.
Dr. Hefner, Mr. Gant, School Board. It's been a long time since I've been here. For you who don't know me in the audience, I'm President of General Information Services, been here for 12 years and has put a lot of time, of my own time and money into the school district, having 2 kids gone through here and having a business here. I find myself in a unusual situation saying, you need to look at what you're doing, okay? Before you increase the mills on the businesses in this county, in the school district, excuse me, you have to look at everything. Now, you do have a fund balance of $32 million. We know that. And I understand Act 388. As again, the first time I was presented with an issue here, I went and did my homework, and I've done the same thing again today. because this has an impact on the businesses. It has the impact on economic development. And, for being, a business person here, we've created over 700 jobs in the last 12 years. And I created 200 more jobs that we actually had to take over to the northeast side because we ran out of space here. But we're back over Richland too, which has the highest in the state, for taxes for the schools. I'm a big believer in the schools. Part of the foundation for excellence here, so it's not like I'm against the schools. I'm for the teachers, but you need to tighten the belt. You need to look at what else you can cut, what else we can do, but not at the expense of the teachers and not at the expense of the students. We have the money available. These are tough times for everybody. If you don't think the business have felt the impact of the Affordable Care Act, of the increases in the taxes for the business licenses in the city, you're incorrect. We're getting beat up by everybody. And again, this is difficult for me to stand here and talk to the school board this way, because for most of you have known me for years, I am a big school. I'm all about the kids. I'm all about the teachers. I am about the schools. It means everything to our economy, and it does make a difference having good schools or bad schools. It will have an impact on us. But you have to do a better job because it does include the property taxes. And I looked at the numbers. It doesn't seem a lot, but there's several businesses here. This is a lot of money. This is a lot of money that we can invest in future technologies, and we can invest in jobs. So, again, I just want you to look at, I'm not against the increase. Okay, but I am against wastefulness. So if you haven't looked at what we can do to cut our costs, to cut our expenses, and again, not the expense of the students, because I don't know what these folks from Irmo are talking about not having AP classes. Again, I don't know, but if half of what they're telling me is correct, this is not what that's not what I'm looking for our school board or for our schools. So it is about the kids, and it is about the teachers. So again, please look at what you're doing. Again, we have a fund balance. We don't have to do this at this point in time, and there can be a balance of withdrawing money and using increase in the mills. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boyno. Next person to sign up is the Mayor, Skip Wilson, Town of Chapin. Mayor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Gant, Board, and Dr. Hefner. Congratulations on your award. I didn't plan on speaking tonight, really kind of catching up on some things that's going on, but I'm quite aware of budgeting. I'm quite aware of accountability and responsibilities that our leaders have been challenged with. And I'm going to make a general comment. Y'all been hired or elected to do a certain job and responsibility. And I've always believed that the actions typically speak louder than the words. And, just personally, I have to support what y'all are doing with respect to the plans that you've put in place. I have to trust that you will be fair and be responsible for and being good being good stewards of our money in the town that we've been putting into the school operations. I know just my experience in the last year and a half in working with Chapin High School, Chapin Middle School, Chapin Elementary School. Those are the schools of Chapin. They're the heart of our community. They do so much for our town specifically, and they do so much for the community. But I just wanted to encourage people who are making these decisions that y'all are aware of what we have to do, what you have to do. And I want to, offer my support to say that, our children are not only the most important things that we have now to be concerned with, but they're our future as well. And y'all have done an outstanding job, and your actions have spoken louder than just words, and the results have been proven. And just personally and professionally, I want to thank you for what y'all are doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our next speaker is Mr. Ken Lovelace.
Mr. Gant, Dr. Hefner, Board, I made one promise to Johnny before she ran for school board, and that was that I was going to try to sleep in the house and not outside the house. So I'm going to. I'm going to have my remarks to that. But The district states, and I have no reason not to accept it, that the explanation for the approximate cause of the increase is state mandated and unfunded salary increases. That looks like, to me, after studying this, what is causing this problem. Looks like an ongoing problem. Looks like it's going to be ongoing for a while. However, on the other side of the coin, wages and rents have been stagnant for years. That fact is translated into business values and business property values that have not increased. In light of that, and I think you stole a little bit of my thunder, Mr. Richardson, in your presentation about efficiency. I think that if we could come up with a compromise of maybe just 1%, and I find it hard to believe that a school district spends $166 million in its budget couldn't come up with just 1% efficiency. And I know I saw some things up there, some things that should have been done already probably that haven't been done. But, you know, if you look at it from the businessman's point of view, you know, you're asking for an increase of 15.7 mills. The way I have it figured, at 13 mills, you'd cover the $3,100,000 you're looking for. So I don't understand why you're asking for more than that, but anyway, if you are, but we've been used to paying 3.5 mills at most every year, if that. Now, all of a sudden, we're going to plunk down 4.5 times that on small businesses. It's going to be the small businesses, and if you look around here, compared to our neighboring district in Lexington, we don't have a big tax base of small businesses. That's the truth. I mean, you can look at it and see. So we're going to ask them to pay an additional 4.5 times that, and that's not just 1 year, that's every year. That's from now on. So what I'm asking you to do is come up with 1%, and that's going to be $1,666,000 of savings that we could do, and I think that the business community would support coming up with a half and half situation. But to put all that, you know, at one time on businesses, and especially, it seems to me that you're asking for more meals than you need. So I would ask you that you not do that, and you consider what the small businesses are saying. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lovelace. Our next speaker is Mr. Peter Zahn.
Good evening. I come before you tonight as the president of the Lexington Richland Education Association. Thank you again for allowing me to speak before you. I am concerned. You've seen that the cuts that are already being recommended do impact the schools. The loss of the permanent subs is the loss of 10 positions that are no longer going to be in our district. Those were 10 jobs. So those people will not be collecting a paycheck, or that position will not be in our school district. We will not have 2 media specialists. Those are well-paying jobs. We have made cuts. We have tightened our belts. This is very concerning to us as teachers. We are cutting into programs. We did not cut into programs when we had the Great Recession. So we are hurting programs. We are impacting students. So it's imperative that we do have the millage increase. The millage increase equates to about $50 on a $100,000 business. So $50 on $100,000 doesn't sound like a lot. It's $500 on $1 million business. That's the increase. So if you're making $1 million on your business, I'm sure $500 is not a lot. So I am very, very concerned. You guys have been very, very courageous. Every budget year, you take the hard decisions, and you guys always seem to do what's best for our students. Please keep that in mind this year. Keep the courage up. We are with you as teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Luzon. Next speaker is Kim Murphy.
Good evening. I have a couple comments that I would like to make regarding the proposed budget. But first, I want to thank Dr. Hefner for his leadership. And secondly, I want to preface my remarks by saying in no way am I advocating for any less for the education of our children. In fact, I believe that District 5 should thoroughly scrutinize the tax dollars that are spent so that more make it directly into the classroom and none are wasted. A salary increase for board members was unnecessary and unjustified and should be eliminated right off the bat. The hallmark of a healthy system of government is the willingness to make sure citizens are given a chance to offer input and to make sure that they are afforded an opportunity to hear about and ask questions about issues that impact them. You have advertised tonight's public hearing on the budget, and based on the presentation we have just heard, a budget with a substantial tax increase. Yet nowhere to be found on the website or even here at this meeting is a copy of it so we can review it and be prepared to ask questions or offer input. Nowhere can I see what you are presenting tonight so I can see the amount of taxes that I or any other person or entity will be forced to pay. How can someone offer any input on a proposed budget when we have no idea what's really being proposed? Secondly, at the last meeting, I asked why the budget had increased so drastically since the bond referendum passed 7 years ago. After all, we don't have any more students than we did 7 years ago. In fact, we have less. Yet the money you spent has increased by $31 million. Mr. White gave an answer to my question, one that I believe was inadequate. Mr. White blamed the budget increase on inflation and state mandates and our financial woes on Act 388. There was no mention that District 5 has increased their spending because 3 new schools and several new facilities were built, which are extremely expensive to operate. And those operating costs come out of the same pot of money that we use to pay our teachers. But in regard to Act 388, as you could see from the graph presented by Mr. Richardson, our revenue has continued to increase. We have no problem with a lack of revenue. In fact, during this time frame, in the last 7 years, over $10 million from the money that you taxed us went directly into fund balance and not directly into the classroom. Our problem is absorbent spending. I ask that you get a handle on your spending habits, stop increasing taxes, and work within your means. And as a thought, just to throw out there in your workshop, you're about to open a new middle school. What are the costs to operate that school before you unlock the doors? Can you review that and let us know if that is an option to just hold off on that till you can get your funding ducks in a row? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. Next person that signed up is Tiffany Heintzman.
Good evening, Board. My name is Tiffany Boyce Heintzman. I'm the president of the Irmo Chamber of Commerce. And I know you all are faced with tough decisions. We just went through our budget process at the Chamber, and the cost of doing business these days just keeps going up and up. I know that y'all will make the best decisions for our schools. I'm delighted that I get to represent the school district as I travel and get to speak in North and South Carolina on behalf of the chambers, and everybody knows about our schools and what a wonderful school system we have. I just ask that you, of course, look out for our businesses and do what's best for our students who are the future. And we all know that our economy is tied to the success of our school district, and we just hope that y'all can continue our wonderful successes that we're having here. And Godspeed. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Heitzman. Thank you for the words from the chamber. Our next speaker is Ms. Susan Baker.
Good evening, Board, and thank you, Dr. Hefner, for all you've done. That's a terrific award. We've been a top district educationally, something that we all know and recognize, and some of you have served for a long time on the board. I know most of you, and many of you have given of your time and talents for a long time. But with that sometimes comes complacency, or just, let's just keep on doing it, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I have concerns that we are not really utilizing all the talent and treasure that is in our community to help us keep from having this bracket creep on these mills and these taxes. Throughout the year, we don't ever discuss budgets or trimming throughout the year. It always comes at this time of the year after school's out in June, and we don't know what the state budget people are going to do, and we're always struggling to figure out how are we going to somehow or other manhandle this budget. I find it amazing that sometimes we don't even have active discussion from all of you on how can we trim it, because we don't seem to ever have a committee that really gets after this. So I think structurally what I wanted to ask you to do is to consider actually forming a committee of citizens and board members that brainstorms and looks at all kinds of things that could help us reduce expenses. Ideas that I never hear discussed are actually setting goals in specific categories. For example, they discussed just a moment ago energy audits. But I've seen other school districts actually set an actual goal of 25% reduction in energy costs for a school district over a certain period of time. We don't ever set a goal. And with students we do, you know, and with performance we do, but we don't set actual goals to reduce expenses. I think about early retirement incentives. We're one of the largest counties in the whole state. I don't see us cooperating with other districts, other districts within our county to just man up on purchasing power capabilities. Do we ever talk to Lexington 1, 2, 3 about purchasing and, you know, getting better prices and discounts on that? There are no reductions, obviously, in testing or athletics or any of those categories. They must be off limits because they certainly never get into the discussion equation. As a citizen, I just wonder if we couldn't do a better job of talking to citizens, a committee, and the public in helping to reduce. One final thought, I have looked at your budget. It really does concern me that the actual school administrative component is going up by about $2 million and supporting services by $2.6 million, yet instruction, the part we all really care about as citizens, is only going up $1.78 million. That's the part that really makes me think the priorities are out of balance and upside down. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. Our final speaker is Ms. Robin Cox. Ms. Cox.
Good evening, Mr. Gant, distinguished members of the school board, Dr. Hefner, congratulations, and the cabinet. I know it has been a long night already and you have a workshop ahead of you, so I'll keep this brief. I'm Robin Cox. I'm a parent, educator, voting community member, and a consumer of local businesses. I am informed and concerned about the budget, particularly the impact of compounded debt. First, I want to thank you for all your hard work. I know this task is big. It's not easy, and I know that a lot of hours and time has been put into looking at where we can cut some more. I want you to know that as a parent and an educator who has worked across this state, there is no better district than District 5. I would argue we're not in the top 3, we are the #1 district. And we are the #1 district because of our district staff, our teachers, our students, and our community and our administrators. 4 years ago, my husband and I had lucrative offers that would have had us relocate to another district in the state, a good district. My husband and I toured those schools, and at the end of the day, we decided, no way. We cannot leave District 5. We were convinced then that our children were being we were given the extraordinary education that they needed and would continue to be given an extraordinary education. Our decision paid off. Our son is a rising sophomore in the Honors College. Our daughter is a junior at Dutch Fork High School in the STEM Magnet program and is set to graduate with honors if all goes well in the next 2 years. And that decision was made because we really believe in District 5 schools, the whole package. I know you're concerned about increasing the millage, particularly to the total amount, and reclaiming the last 3 years. My parents owned 3 small businesses, and I had to work in them. So I know what they faced year after year. But what I'm absolutely convinced of is that it will pay off for the district and the local businesses. Just today, we had to replace a dishwasher and a washing machine. Yes, both in one day. We purchased from a local Chapin appliance store. We always try to support local businesses. My daughter and I personally increased revenue for local businesses with her shopping. Our family is asking you to raise the full millage and reclaim the previous years. Our community and families need this to maintain the extraordinary education the students in this district receive, not just now, but in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cox. Thank you, Ms. Cox. That concludes our public participation in this portion, which was our public hearing on 2015-2016 general fund budget. And I'll remind our audience that we're going to have our budget workshop next, and that the budget itself will be acted upon on our next meeting, which will be June 22nd. So at this time, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. White?
I'll make a motion we adjourn.
And do I have a second? Ms. Bumgardner seconds. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And we are adjourning the public hearing on our budget. And we will now go. If anybody needs a moment to leave, but you're welcome to stay. I now call to order our budget workshop. We'll just wait just a minute.
Y'all need to stay. No, what? I don't think so. Robert.
All right, I'm now going to ask for a motion to convene our budget workshop.